babies, you got me sailing tonight. I hope I got you right there in flight, here in the middle of the night. The Koyote Medicine Show, yeah, the home of the rock and roll soul in your heart, baby, yeah. There's a call, and there's an answer to that call right here on your radio tonight. Hey, baby, your heart, you're feeling it. You're taking flight. You're feeling it. In this most natural of way, but it's so unusual. We're not used to it. We're not used to feeling things on that level. We're trying to be, part of us is desperately fighting to maintain what it thinks of as rationality. Babies, you can't hang on to that. You got to know that. Now, I'm going to tell you a little story now, per a request from a good heart out there that sincerely loves us all and shares her great wealth with us. Requested that I tell this little story I promised last night tonight. And it kind of fits right in with the theme of things here about, just going with the flow, feeling your way through it, letting spirit lead you where it will. Now, you got to understand, I've lived an unusual life. I'm not like the working stiff that lives next door and never will be, of course. So my life always has unusual aspects in it, not the type anybody else would often encounter anywhere. It's a rare life. I'm a rare being, but yet I'm the same as everybody else too, because I'm in it just like you. We're all in it together. So I live a bit of a clown life too. I stumble but my way through. Sometimes I feel like Mr. Magoo, perfectly charmed, but just stumbling all over everything, but somehow it all works out like magic. That's the old Mr. Magoo cartoons. If you haven't seen one in a while, well, if I could play one for you here, I would, babies. They're incredible, they're kind of crude, but they're incredible. That's how I've felt a good share of my life, man. Not so much anymore. The blind shall see, and the deaf shall hear, and the heart shall rise in all. Well, hell yeah, it's happening. And for me too, babies. I'm coming back to life right along with you, and bringing you along with me as you're bringing me along with you. It's a two-way street, a three-way street. We're all in it together, babies. We rock. So there was this time back in, let's see, how many years ago would this be? Let's give it some context here so you can kind of relate. You might have been a baby at the time. It's that far back. It was in the 90s sometime. I think it was about 97, November of, excuse me, 97, if I recall correctly. And I'm residing in Boulder, Colorado, but kind of as an itinerant. I've been working in the streets and the coffee shops there with the people, helping them come back to life on a one-on-one way, And I've been living, like I say, just at the behest of the universe. My entire life changed a year or so before that. And I just became this, I just landed in Boulder out of nowhere. I left everything I knew and loved behind me, quite by accident in a way, yet spirits had been telling us all along this was going to happen. I just didn't know how. So I fell into this situation where I became this itinerant, well, let's call it, well, I always called myself spirit assistant, but kind of a street healer, I had a little setup there by permit on the Pearl Street Mall in Boulder, Colorado, and I was wowing the people with some healing energy, People were walking away from me completely healed of everything that was wrong with them before they walked up, It was an amazing time. There was a lot of good gathering, a lot of familiar souls coming, a lot of old ancient reconnections being made. It was magic times, baby, as I tell you. When the old man set up his chairs there on the mall, the magic began. I even had like ETs coming by to watch me, see what the hell was going on. All these government suit types watching and stuff. It was phenomenal. There were great times. I'll tell you the party story sometime too. That's in my book. This one's not, I don't think. But anyway, so this was the context of where I was living. And of course, as I'm sitting at those chairs, people in between my work, with others, people would come by and take me to lunch or dinner, or take me out for a little toke. You couldn't toke in public then. It's kind of frowned on. It's more acceptable here than anywhere, especially in Boulder, but you just didn't do it out in front of everybody there on Pearl Street Mall. You just went around the corner somewhere and found a little quiet place and had a toke or two with your friends, So it kept me in a good space, so I was more able and ready assistance to the people. I was more able to open, and I could immediately, I could take your hand in mine, my person sitting across from me there, and immediately I would know your whole life, everything in it. But it wasn't like detailed. It was more like an image I got of the life, the waves of your life, the energies, the ebbs and flows, the passion and controls and constrictions and all that kind of stuff. And if I needed to know anything about any area of your life that I could convey to you and help you heal it, well then the energies would direct my eyes to that point in the picture, and there would be an explanation come through me as to why this happened. This is the higher purpose being served. You're now released of it because you understand it. And then whatever illness or injury or whatever that they had because of that experience was healed right along with it, and there were medical practitioners verifying some of these healings. I didn't, I just did my work. I didn't ask for any of that, and I didn't want it, because I knew in my heart what was happening, and that's what was important to me, that it was able to share. And the funny thing about the aspects of that healing work is, when you're helping others, they're usually going through something very similar to what you are. So as you're assisting them, they're assisting you. So it's not like anybody's got one over on anybody, or anybody's more gifted than anybody else. We were just doing it together. It's amazing. Complete strangers, which, well, nobody's a stranger. We know everybody. We're connected. But anyway, complete strangers come by. I tell them their life in a heartbeat, I still have those gifts. I just don't energize them very often, because I want you to know and understand your life. I've learned a thing or two in my time here, and as I've gone along through this magic existence called life. And babies, it's all up to us now. I'm not throwing it on you personally. It's all up to us now to get it right. So I'm more in a harmonious place now, where I instantly know the life of the earth and everybody in it, and I can do the same kind of healing work as I did then, and it helps me heal too, because quite frankly, shoot, it wears you down after a while, babies. You have your ebbs and flows in life. Well, anyway, we're talking about a magic time. Well, just know that it always works out, though. Every time it always comes out like perfect magic, as this story illustrates. So I get to be a pretty well-known figure about that town, and I got lots of friends. People are amazed at what's happening. I'm so pleased. I'm tickled pink. I'm dancing the night away with friends. I party a lot. I drink a lot of beer. I smoke a lot of pot, and I dance and I dance and I dance. And I mean, I've just got so much energy. I'm so highly charged at the end of the day that that's what I do. And I got this one buddy that comes frequently and takes me out, and we go shoot pool and drink beer and party and have a good time, go to different concerts, stuff like that. And so, I've been out partying around with him this one night, and he lives way up on the mountains, up Boulder Canyon there, and I was just going to follow him up in my car. It was snowing that night, But he got a little bit ahead of me going out of town, and when we got up to the mouth of the canyon, there's a big old line of cars ahead of me, So I deliberately pulled over, because I didn't want to follow these line of cars. I mean, people are so weird driving on the snow, and I don't like to be around too many folks then. It's hazardous, So if I could get out of a line of cars, I would. Besides that, I had to take a leak anyway. Drinking a lot of beer, boy, it goes right through a person like me quick, So anyway, I stop and sneak off in the bushes, take a leak, and the traffic clears. Nobody's in sight anywhere. It's snowing, big old wet flakes, that wet springtime looking snow. I think it was November though, so it's fall snow. Beautiful stuff. I love it. And that canyon just magic that night as I'm driving up there. Got this little car, my little golden chariot, I called it, as a gift of love that came from me from a sweet person back in my homeland of Oregon there, and anyway, it was a beautiful vehicle, and it had really served me well. It had been both my residence, my temple, my meditation parlor, whatever you want to call it, my yoga factory. Been through some really interesting experiences in this car. This thing was magic, and so I really loved this car, you know. It's just an old frumpy looking golden Subaru. I think it was like 20 years old then, probably had 250,000 miles on it, but heck, it was a running son of a gun. I loved it, you know. And it didn't eat much gas either. We just put fresh snow tires on it. I'd got a donation from the very friend I was following, and I just put some fresh snow tires on the front so I wouldn't have any problems with the snow, and then we get hit by this big old storm. Well, long story short, I start puttering up the canyon, and I'm going like, you know, it's slushy there, you know, and with about 2-3 inches of fresh snow on top of about 1 inch of slush. So it's a, you know, you got to navigate and, you know, not use too much excessive speed. Some of the idiots that run the road all the time will go by you 55, 60 miles an hour in such conditions driving their fancy SUVs, but they don't always make it. And I feel sorry for them too. But anyway, so I'm going like 30 mile an hour, 25, something like that up this canyon in this snowstorm, you know. And I'm up there 2 or 3 miles, and I'm having a toke or two, and from out of nowhere this car just shows up behind me, you know, this vehicle with some kind of high headlights, and they're shining in on me real bright, and the guy's tailgating me in this damn snowstorm. I'm going like 30 mile an hour trying to, you know, get him off my ass, and he won't get out of the way, and that's about as fast as I feel like safe going, you know. So I thought, well, I know there's a wide place coming up in the road up there by the creek, and I thought, well, maybe I can pull over there, but by then I'm like in 6 inches of snow, you know, with 1 inch of slush under it. It's coming down pretty hard, you know. And so when I try to pull over there, well, it grabs my wheel and tries to swerve me toward the creek, you know. So I drove out of it. I'm a good driver, even when I'm a bit intoxicated. I did all right, you know. And I got it back under me and got back on the road. But this idiot wouldn't get off my ass. So about 3 miles up the road, there's this turnout for Left-Hand Canyon, and I just pulled over there expecting this dude to go by me. Well, he didn't pull by me. He pulled right up behind me and turned on his red and blue lights. And I was, oh, shit. Now, you got to understand, I'd been driving about 8 years with no driver's license. No, I had insurance on the car, strange as that may seem, somehow. But I had no driver's license, and, you know, hadn't had one for years, you know, because I'd been trying to force myself to stay out of trucking. It was working so far. But I'd driven all over the country in the meantime in other vehicles, and I'd never been bothered, you know. So this is the first time I've been pulled over in years and years and years, you know. And I'd go, oh, shit, you know. But anyway, so the guy comes walking up to the car, and I roll down the windows, and this huge cloud of marijuana smoke comes rolling out the window. I've been toking on my way up the canyon, you know. Oh, the wily wiles of a coyote, I'm telling you. So, of course, he gets me out of the car and gives me a breathalyzer and stuff like that, you know. And we got like... and did the roadside test, you know, and I thought I did all right with them, you know, but the one thing I did do was I just ejected all that alcohol instantly from my system. I just did an energy thing, you know, where I just tuned in to the vibe of the universe and said, let this alcohol be gone from my system, and I felt the energy in my system discharging it, neutralizing it somehow. So when the guy gave me the breath test, I was below the limit by 3/10. But he took me in anyway because I got this thing called driving impaired. It's an 050. So what it means is if you had a beer within the last 10 minutes or so, they got you. Well, I'd had 16 or 20 of them that night, but again, I tell you, it goes through me fast. Plus, I dance a lot and sweat it out. Plus, I have a way of just discharging it from me, so it goes away. That's how I managed to get by with all that stupidity. I would never do this now. But back then, I was a little more on the wild side than I am now. I've gentled down a bit these days, and I don't drink and drive. In fact, I've quit drinking pretty much altogether, you know. Well, I still have a sip here and there, of course, but not much. I'm just really getting away from the alcohol pretty much altogether. But back in that time, man, I did a lot of it, you know. But it didn't slow me down a bit. It helped me discharge, helped me loosen up, dance, discharge. You know, I've always been a bit of a party boy since I was just a young man, and I just enjoy doing that. But especially when you're out there in that spirit vibe and the energies are flowing through you and the others that you're dancing with. Oh my God, it can get wild. There were some really good parties there in Boulder. Believe me, I was well known for my drinking and partying, well known. So I found out later the cops had kind of set me up. That's why this guy had been sitting in the canyon somewhere waiting for me to come by. He was watching for me. That the dudes in power wanted to check me out, see what my record was and so forth. They were amazed. I got no record. Hell, I'd been good since I was like 18. You know, I hadn't done shit before that. Now I'd had a rough time of it, but when I hit 18, I'd stopped. I'd become, you know, kind of a regular citizen in my own way. It took some doing, believe me, but we'd done it. So they were amazed, but that was later. So this dude impounds my car and puts me in cuffs, man, in plastic handcuffs. This hurt, man, you know. He wasn't too bad with them, but still, it's like I had to ride like 16 miles with these damn things on me in the backseat of his hard old patrol car. I was like, yuck, you know. And takes me on down to the county jail. Well, this county jail's got a reputation amongst the criminal sorts as being the Boulder Hilton. It's supposed to be soft and easy duty compared to all the other jails around. I didn't know what to expect. Hell, I'd not been inside or even near one of those in a long, long time. I think it had been 32 years or so since I'd seen the inside of a jail. I got busted for public intox. That was when I was 18. That was the last time I'd seen the inside of a jail, you know. Well, here I was getting busted for drinking again and getting hauled in. Well, I got in there and they gave me their breath tests there, which is the court evidence. And, of course, I was down to like 2.8 or something, you know. Well, they went ahead and locked me up anyway. I couldn't believe it, man, you know. And kept me for the weekend, you know. Wow. And they put me in this cell. I mean, you know, and it's, I don't know if you guys have been jailed before. It's humiliating, man. They strip you down naked and look up your ass, you know. I told the guy, I hope you enjoy the view, man. There was a few other little funny things went on as this was happening, you know, but it was like a total fascination to me. I was just like a person just going through the flow. I was kind of detached from it in a way and kind of entertained by it, you know. They got me in this little room and tried to get me to confess to smoking so much marijuana I couldn't drive. And I just looked the guy right in the eye and said, why are you asking me all these stupid questions? I'm not going to incriminate myself. What do you think, I am stupid? You know? And he says, well, you don't have to answer. And so I says, well, I ain't going to then. Thank you very much, you know. So they weren't too hard on me. They were pretty easy on me, really, you know. And finally I wind up in a little cell, you know. I didn't know what to expect, shit. And, you know, this is all a mystery to me, you know. But the divine power is at work in every moment of your life, baby, you know. So I'm in a jailhouse. There's a single room with 2 people in it. I'm the second, you know. So I got this cot down on the floor. It's about 3 inches off the floor. It's hard as a rock and it's cold and there are no blankies or nothing, but so much for the Boulder Hilton, you know. And this guy in the cell with me, I can tell he's weird. I feel his energy. I feel him squirming around and stuff. So I just sent him a good vibe and, you know, just tried to be pleasant about it as the night wore on. Nothing happened, you know. In the morning, they changed this around, stuck me in with a young guy. And then I found out they'd stuck me in with what they call the jailhouse bitch, which is like, you know, this guy is totally psychotic and really weird and does weird things with guys. But he didn't bother me. It was amazing, man. In fact, he became one of my best friends in there, you know. That's what happened. When they let us out for breakfast in the morning and all the drunk drivers and all the other guys that got busted for this and that, you know, hanging out, come out to eat together, you know. And the food is terrible, of course, but the coffee is passable, so you drink it, you know. And you get to BSing, and some kid come up to me and says, hey, I know you. Aren't you Grandpaw Koyote? Oh, yeah. And, well, geez, from that moment on, I was a busy character every time we were out of the cell. Because this kid, he needed some help with something that was going. I mean, people in jail going to need some help with shit, you know. So we'd sit down and gave each of them personal readings, healings, that kind of thing, you know. And I'd tell them about their life and why they'd gotten here and what had brought them here, and how they were going to deal with it, and how they were going to be through with it. I'd tell them, they'd ask me about what their girlfriends were doing and stuff, and you know, if it was reasonable and it wasn't just, you know, fishing, of course I'd be of help to them. So we had a beautiful weekend in there. I mean, I tried to get a friend to post bail, but nobody could that weekend, so I just stayed there till Monday morning. I mean, you know, it was really an awesome and amazing time. A time of connection, a time of healing people that had been twisted for a long time, a time of helping people that were going down for a long time to understand their real position there in the prison system, and what, you know, like for example, there was this one gentleman that was going down for 10 years on a cocaine charge. How ridiculous, but there it was, you know. Especially in Boulder, where it's also tolerant, you know. But anyway, so there he was, and you know, spirits through me told him that, hey dude, you know, there's some people in here that really need your help, and you're kind of a volunteer, and that's why this has happened to you. You're like an angel, baby, walking through hell. You know, this is your path, bud. This is what you've chosen. And you know, he just lit up like a light when these kind of words came flowing through me. Well, all the guys did. A lot of lives were changed in that jailhouse that weekend. It was amazing, babies. I loved every minute of it. I was almost disappointed when they came Monday morning and dropped the charges. Why, Mr. Coyote, you don't have a record, do you? And I said, no. I mean, did you expect I would? And then he explained to me how, you know, the reason they kept me the weekend is sometimes they'll go ahead and pursue charges on people just on suspicion, even if they blow a low breath test. And then I found out from friends later they actually do, but they didn't do it to me. They dropped the charges and released me. It took a while. And the most beautiful part of it, it was just, I mean, you know, I couldn't have designed it any better if I'd have planned it, which I didn't. It was all spontaneous, of course, you know. As I'm checking out of the jail, I got the jailer waiting over at the door, and I'm on the other side of the jail. All of the guys line up, and each one of them gets a little talking with me, a little blessing and so forth, as I'm headed out the door. You know, I had to go pack my bag up and, you know, go get my stuff and that. But as I'm headed out the door, you know, each one of them, you know, wanted to, you know, shake my hand, give me a hug, and we talked and we communicated a little blessing back and forth, and away we go. And the poor old jailer's standing over there beating his little billy club against his knee, waiting for him. It took me like 10-15 minutes just to go from my little cell to the jailhouse door on my release, just because the guys would not let me go. There was so much love. And of course, I became good friends, met many of them outside of the jailhouse as they expired from the system, thank goodness. And things really worked out well. And, you know, after that, I learned that I had some friends in high places there in Boulder. I never really knew just who they were, but they were people that could pull strings for me, and obviously had, you know, in many ways. And so I just blessed them and went on my way, man. I'm just this little street hillbilly kid, you know, helping folks stay alive, and myself, you know, living a wild, wild life, and just amazed at it all. You know, just rolling with the flow like crazy, man. It's an amazing time. But see, that's the magic you can experience in the most down times of life. Most people would have been depressed. I got beat up in jail, stuff like that. Didn't happen. It was a magic time. The cop and I, the cop that busted me, he became kind of a friend. It's not like we hung out together or nothing, but, you know, after this was over, he was cool, man, you know. Things like this happen. And I tried, the other side of it was, then I tried to get back in the jailhouse from the outside to be like, you know, because I am ordained preacher. I could do, you know, I got the certificate somewhere. So I could go in, you know, I could use that as a legal means to get into the jail to counsel my brothers in there and sisters too. They had women in the other side. But anyway, they just wouldn't let me. They kept passing the buck and telling me I'd have to do this, do that, see this person, see that person, and of course they just didn't want it around. So I just kept dealing with people on the streets the way I was for a number of years thereafter. I had to live without my car, though. My golden chariot went away. I'd made some mistakes about the titling on it back in Oregon that I could never straighten out, and so the impound just stuck. I had to go. They let me come and get my stuff out of it. I had so damn much stuff in there, I could only get half of it. But even that wasn't a tragedy. I wound up walking the streets at night. How do I want to put this? I wound up, walking most of the places I went in that town. I learned how to use the bus system a little bit. My cash resources were real limited then because I just did my work on a donation basis. I met with anybody that came to me, no matter who they were or what was going on, and I dealt with them, and I never expected anything in return. I put it on my sign. It's free. You can make a donation if you want. I will accept it, but it's free. So I got minimal money. I got enough to buy a little food, keep me alive, and I learned how to live minimally in Boulder, too. It's beautiful, man. Until I could find $2 burritos that would fill you full, man. There was this little place on the hill, Trawling's restaurant. They would feed us for 99 cents a scoop, and when they knew you were a street person, baby, they'd heap it up for that 99 cents. You could eat there for $1, a plate of fried rice, man. You'd be full as all get, and nourished too. It's good food. But usually I'd spend $2 or $3, and I get the good stuff. I like teriyaki and spicy stuff. I'm big on that. But a guy could live on $5 a day, maybe $10 a day there in that town, and not do too bad. And I had lots of friends. And everybody was like offering me a couch at night, So I just couch surfing, man, for years. It was fun. Finally, I moved indoors after a while. I'll assure you that. I finally did have to move indoors. But when I did, I went back to work in a conventional way, started driving taxis there in Boulder. Now, that was interesting, let me tell you. That's a whole nother story. We'll go into that one some other time. But that's the magic. Everything that can go wrong in your life is leading you in the right direction. Even that moment in time where the big shots decided it was time to call Coyote's bluff, and that was a message to me too. Cut it out. Everybody knows you're drinking and driving, old man. Stop it. That was the other side of it, And I think I heard that one loud and clear, because they sure could have spanked my little fanny. But they didn't do it. They were gracious with me. I appreciate Boulder. I appreciate the people there. Everybody during those years that I lived there, and it was like about 8-10 years, were gracious as all get out, man. I had my hard times there too, of course. But I love that place. I love that people, and I met people from all over the earth there, and I got friends all over the earth because of it, man. It's awesome, man, to be able to have lived and experienced all of this, But that's the hazard of being a little bit visible, People notice, and then they'll deal accordingly. You just got to be wise about your behavior, and me being a coyote, it takes a time or two to get it right. You know what I mean? But that's the story tonight, and that was the gift of delight. And given him on the darkest ways, man, getting arrested and hauled off to jail for drinking and driving. I didn't cause no harm to anybody. Obviously, I had my skills with me, or I would have slid off in the creek back there. I was functional. I've been doing this a long time. I practice a lot. Those were my excuses in the time as then. Now, like I say, I hardly ever touch the stuff anymore. I've made such an obnoxious heel out of myself a time or two under the form of intoxication that, wow, I don't want to be like that anymore. So I just, if I can't maintain any better than that, I think I'll just do without for a while. Back in those days, I was a real mellow drunk, man. I was fun. I was happy, People liked to party then, but boy, things change over the years, man. But they come back. Everything works out perfectly. You get to meet people. Something turns your life. You get to meet people you never would have met. You make connections on a heart level you never would have made. Lives are changed incredibly. You're influenced incredibly. Your life baby, Living in the flow is the way to go. It's just a little challenging at times because, like I say, you just got to throw the limits out the window and just go with the flow. Whatever the being of the moment is, this is what it takes to be who you are. You have to let go of anything that restricts you. Any idea that this has to be that way, that has to be that way, and oh God, I'm busted, I'm dead. No way, baby. Never take it like that. Ever. Live your life to the fullest. Live your life from this feeling heart. And that's what I was doing then, and that's what I'm doing now. Different levels of it all together. Yes, thank goodness. Thank goodness we grow and change. Thank goodness we get through it alive and don't hurt anybody in the process, or damn little. And anybody you hurt is helped anyway because they're helping you through their hurt. That's a strange system, this coyote medicine, but it works, and it works very well. And it's synchronistic as all get out. And it's beautiful and it's poetic, babies. Life is like this. Live in this flow. This is what it takes. And you won't have to live near as radical as I have. No, you won't. But at the same time, the changes are every bit as radical. You know, you have to let go of preconceived notions about everything. Just be in the flow and let it take you where it will. If this belief leads you this way and you see, wow, that just faded, didn't it? You just went beyond the limits, baby. You know, you just let go of something that had really been holding you back, even though it had been helping you in a strange sort of way too. You know, beliefs don't always be hurtful. Everything in life contributes to the fullness of it. Everything in life contributes to you fulfilling the energies you've come to do here, but mainly to your enlightenment, to what brings you around, to what gets you back to a place where you want to be a human being again and you want to feel in the heart. That's quite a major step for most folks. They're scared to death of the limits and the restrictions and the restrictors. You've got a freer feeling about it now. You know the magic in love. You know that those beings can't even harm you, can't pull you over even when you're in a really good space. And I'll tell you what, they could have thrown the book at me back there. Like I said, I was unlicensed, etc. They didn't do it. You know? Things, baby, your attitude says everything about you. Your skill at handling yourself, at being comfortable inside of yourself, says everything about you, sets the tone for your whole life. So even though you may still be a hurting fool, there might still be undercurrents there. If you're just playing it straight with yourself, if you're comfortable in that, if you're okay with what's going on, whatever it is, baby, you're living in a righteous space and only magic can happen. That's how life is. That's a coyote way, baby. That's the reality we live in. Not many are willing to let go even yet enough to live it. But it won't be long now for we'll all be doing it. And it'll be a rock and roll medicine show, all right. Holy heck. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little diatribe. I want, Tammy and Winona to come over here and sing you a little song now that'll help soften up the heart and soak in the story, and then we'll rock again. Babies, I love you. You've been listening to Grandpa Koyote telling stories here on the Koyote Medicine Show here and exclusively on the Hey Z Radio Network. Babies, you rock. Grandpa loves you. Here we go.